Hexham's history is a tapestry woven with threads of religious devotion, border conflicts and economic development. It's a town where the past is still very present, evident in its architecture and stories. Join us for a brief visit for some of the highlights of this important historic market town. The story of Hexham begins with St Wilfrid, a prominent figure in the early Northumbrian church, founding a monastery in 674 AD. The Vikings destroyed the structure in 821, but Hexham Abbey that we see before us today was built upon the foundations of St Wilfrid's monastery in the 12th century and became a significant religious centre. The town grew around the abbey, gaining market town status in 1276. You can visit the abbey for free, but a donation is always welcome. Stepping inside, the grandeur and scale of the building is immediately apparent, with soaring arches, intricate stonework and beautiful stained glass windows creating a sense of awe and wonder. Most of the glass is Victorian, as earlier windows were destroyed during turbulent periods like the Scottish raids and the Reformation. The newest addition is the Tyrrell window in the south transept, designed by Alan Davis of Whitby and installed in 2012. These worn 13th century stone steps once led to the monks' dormitories, which are now long gone. Imagine the scene centuries ago. A bell rings out calling the canons to prayer. They raise from their beds and descend the night stairs, their way lit only by flickering candlelight, emerging directly into the south transept of the Abbey Church. At the foot of the stairs stands the imposing tombstone of Flavinus, a 2nd century Roman standard bearer, discovered buried beneath the abbey floor in the 19th century. It was likely originally erected in the Roman cemetery near Corbridge Roman Fort, a site we visited in last week's video. A painted replica in Corbridge vividly recreates the detail of the tombstone. Its presence here highlights the abbey's connection to the Roman past. Large quantities of stone from the ruins of Corbridge Fort, Town and Hadrian's Wall were used in the construction of the original 7th century monastery. It's possible the tombstone was simply repurposed as a convenient building material. The crypt, which we didn't visit, is largely constructed from Roman stone. At the crossing we find the rood screen. This would traditionally have had a huge cross mounted above the screen, where the organ now sits. This ornate divider, dating back to the late 15th, early 16th century, separates the sacred chancel from the nave. While the cross has gone, the screen itself survives with its intricate carvings and faded paintings of saints. The organ was installed in 1974 to mark the 1300th anniversary of the abbey itself and has over 2,300 pipes. Hexham Abbey's chancel is a stunning example of early English Gothic architecture, with its elegant pointed arches and soaring windows. As the oldest part of the abbey above ground, it is the heart of religious life, where the Mass is celebrated and the choir sings. Look for the intricate details like the carved choir stalls and the medieval paintings depicting the Passion of Christ. The Frith stool stands in the middle of the choir and may date from the 7th century when St Wilfrid built the first monastery. Made of sandstone, it has been worn smooth by centuries of human touch. Possibly a bishop's seat when Hexham was a cathedral, later it was used as a chair for sanctuary for those fleeing persecution. The word frith is of Anglo-Saxon origin and means peace, security and freedom from molestation. On Angel Wings has been a truly breathtaking art installation created in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. 4,500 origami angels crafted by local community members soar 45 feet above the chancel, offering a space of remembrance and reflection. Each angel represents a loved one, transforming the Abbey into a haven of hope and healing. I believe it's due to finally descend in October 2024. Having taken in just some of the highlights of the Abbey, let's take a look at the town that grew up around it. When we arrived from our base at Corbridge, we parked at Wentworth Car Park, the largest and closest to the historic centre. It's a short walk uphill along Wentworth Place into the centre and marketplace. As we walk along Hall Gate, we are presented with the impressive sight of the old jail, opened in 1333 and in use until the 1820s when it became a bank and solicitor's office. For a small fee, you can pop inside and find out about crime and punishment from 1333 to Victorian times, and it also tells the story of the infamous Border Reivers, Reivers being a Scottish term for raids. A small lift takes you down to the prison dungeons. You don't step out and have just a minute to look around before the lift returns to the street level. It wasn't just any prison. The powerful Archbishop of York built it to maintain law and order in his territory, which included Hexham. This shows how important the church was in medieval society. The Border Reivers were a constant problem. These families from both England and Scotland would raid and steal across the border. The jail held many of these captured, making it a key player in the ongoing border conflicts. Life inside was grim. Prisoners had to pay for their own food, drink and bedding. If you were poor, you were likely to suffer even more. Conditions were harsh and disease was common. By the 1800s, the jail was considered outdated. Prisoners were moved to the newer Morpeth Jail, and Hexham Old Jail closed in 1820. Arriving in Market-Place, we have just passed under the Moot Hall. This was the Archbishop's Gatehouse, built in around 1379 and commissioned by the Archbishop Alexander Neville of York. It served as a grand entrance and courthouse to the enclosure known as Hallgate, where the old jail still stands. After losing its main court function in 1572, it adapted to serve various community needs, including meetings, elections, and even as a schoolroom. The Town Information Board shows us what Market-Place might have looked like around 600 years ago. It is still a bustling central point in the town today, with various traditional and farmers' markets held during the week, but not today. This was the location of the tragic Hexham riot in 1761. Local men protested against new militia laws, and it turned violent. Soldiers positioned in front of the Moot Hall opened fire, killing over 50 protesters. The jail was filled with those captured after the riot. Beside the Market-Place is the much-loved Forum Cinema, having had its ups and downs over the decades. Witherspoon's pub chain bought it in the 1990s, and many of the Art Deco features still exist inside. In 2007, the upper floors reopened as the Town Cinema. Hallstyle Bank leads away from Market-Place and is a mix of shops and residential homes. It was previously called Bull Bank due to the Black Bull Inn at the top of the hill, now demolished. Partway down is the rear facade of the Albert and Edward Club, established as a popular meeting place for the locals in 1906 until the 1970s. Notice the tiles with the Masonic symbol. As we turn the bend, there are several lovely properties, many of which are now listed buildings. Henry King was a prominent figure in Hexham during the 19th century, known for his philanthropy and contribution to the town. He owned a successful linen and woolen draper's shop in Market Place. Upon his death, 5 almshouses were built in 1893, funded by his estate and overseen by his sister. I'm not sure if these properties for the poor and needy are still in use in that fashion today or now private residences. Back at Market Place is Fore Street, where we'll find some of the more modern high street chains, but rather than show you Boots, Costa Coffee and WH Smith's, we'll take a turn into one of the side streets and walk down the parallel road of St Mary's Chair, which is a bit more interesting and pretty. Chair is a northern English term for a narrow lane or alleyway, and St Mary was a chapel that once stood in this street beside the Market Place. The turmoil of the Reformation and English Civil War gave way to more prosperous times, and Hexham benefited from the growth of industries like lead mining and leather tanning in the surrounding area, contributing to its economic prosperity. The Victorian era saw the arrival of the railway in 1835, and this boosted trade further, expanding with new housing, public buildings and infrastructure. This impressive building on the end of Fore Street once housed the Midland Bank and dates back to 1897. It is still a bank, part of the HSBC Group. A channel subscriber told me that Cranton's Butchers is highly recommended. They have a number of stores in the area and one here in Hexham. Market Street likely emerged as a key trading route during the medieval period, connecting the marketplace to the rest of the town. Its name clearly reflects its function as a central location for markets and commerce. The Victorian era brought significant changes to Market Street, with new buildings reflecting the architectural styles of the time. The street continues to be a hub for shops and businesses. The last street to explore on this brief visit is one of the newest, Beaumont Street, at the top of which stands a statue of Lieutenant Colonel George Elliot Benson, a native of Hexham who died in the Second Boer War in 1901. Behind him is the Wesleyan Methodist Church, built in 1887, now Hexham Community Church. The town expanded quickly in the 19th century,
The area around the abbey was cleared to introduce a new Victorian street leading to Market Place, commissioned by Wentworth Blackett Beaumont, a prominent local landowner who laid the foundation stone for the Corn Exchange and Town Hall in 1865. Today the building is the Queen's Hall Arts Centre. Across the road is Hexham Park, known as the Seal. It was originally part of the estate of the Beaumont family, who owned the nearby Dilston Castle. In 1908, the Seal was officially given to the town of Hexham for use as a public park. This brings us back to the Abbey where we started our compact tour. We didn't have as much time here as we would have liked. We'll be leaving the Northumberland series now, but staying in the north of England for a few more adventures in and around Durham. This is what's coming next time. An idyllic hamlet nestled in the lush countryside of northeast England. Thatched cottages, a glowing coal fire, picturesque local parish church, and a charming hillside farmhouse with a beautiful garden. This is just one small section of the incredible Living Museum of the North. If you haven't heard of Beamish, you're in for a treat. Life in northeast England through the ages has been recreated in this immersive and interactive museum where a day is just not enough to take it all in. Join us as we explore all the different time periods from the 1820s through to the 1950s on foot and sometimes on wonderful transport relics of the past. We'll time travel through a 1900s pit village, experiencing life in a coal mining community, and an Edwardian town street with fascinating shops and businesses. It truly was a day to remember, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a second of this incredible day learning about life in the North. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.